Hey everybody, it's Ozark Pepper One. Sunday evening, and been quite a eventful weekend. Be prepared. I've dealt with people nosing around this weekend actually, and what they'll do is they'll show up and they pretend like they're lost, but they're actually looking to see what you have at your place that they could possibly take. Some people are genuinely lost sometimes, but sometimes they also have the indicators that that's not the case. One thing I want to touch on why a lot of people move to another area. They may have made mistakes in their younger years, and the things that they did then haunt them later on in life. Like, you may have been a bad person. I may have been a bad person when I was younger. If not externally, maybe in the mind, which I think all of us go through that. But sometimes, as you get older, you see old friends, you bump into them or something, and sometimes you want to reconnect on an honest level, like just no malice. There's no what do you call it? You're not wanting anything, but just to say hi. Every once in a while. Not nothing serious. But what happens is they still perceive you as that guy or girl before. They think you're that person from 20 years ago or 30 years ago or whenever. Maybe even just 5 years ago. You may have changed that quick. But I think a lot of people go through that later in life, especially when they hit their 40s. They start hitting their 40s, they notice that a lot of other people do different things. They got different ways of doing things and they fall into a different culture of life. But that's why it's always good to make other friends when you can that are on the same page as you. They don't have to be politically 100% with you, but similar. I do have friends that are totally opposite of me politically, but they're still friends. They don't have any malice toward me for what I believe, and I don't toward them. I don't understand why they believe what they do. But I would help that person out the same as I would anyone else. But it's also, if you're in a situation to where that stuff bothers you and you're getting older, don't be afraid to reach out for help from a friend or something. Just tell them, say you just want somebody to talk to because it's bothering you, or something. Because I believe we've all been through it to where, you're on that long nighttime drive somewhere, you're thinking, and sometimes that in itself, it can be peaceful or it can be depressing. I can tell you from experience, my experience, a 4 a.m. drive is much less depressing than a 2 a.m. drive. And I don't know if it's because I got 2 hours more of sleep or it's just a different change in the atmosphere. I'm not sure. But a 4 a.m. for me, as long as there's no other vehicles and stuff on the road, it's peaceful. I see the moon, and I feel the cool air. I prefer that over the midnight drive or the 2 a.m. drive, because by then the temperatures really came down and everything's got really quiet and still. It's some of the most peaceful time there is to me is 4 o'clock in the morning until the sun comes up. And I'm up every morning usually at 4 o'clock. Usually I wake up around 3 o'clock. I've got nothing going on tomorrow, so I may be up all night. Who knows? But it's one thing to think about, especially if you guys are younger now that's listening to this. You hear what I'm saying is try to be positive now and leave a lasting good impression on everyone around you. And later on in your years, 10 years, 15 years from now, those people will have that etched in their memory and they will be reaching out to you. You'll be receiving phone calls or emails or texts from people who just want to talk to you because of the positive vibe you put off. And we don't have that anymore, like that communication like it used to be. I mean, how many of you remember way back, let's go back 30 years, that way we know the cell phones weren't even a big thing at all. Let's go back to mid-1990s. You remember getting that phone call from your friend and they're having a hard time, and you could hear it in their voice, and you don't say anything like, I know you're having a hard time or something like that. You just say, hey man, let's go hang out. And that way you're not pretending to just respond just because they're having a problem. It's because you make it sound more like you're really there for them. You want to be their friend, and you value their friendship. And I think a lot of people remember those phone calls back then, or you may even made some of those phone calls because you're bored, you're out of your mind, and you're just sitting there. And when you get older, this stuff doesn't bother you as much. You find things to do. You end up with a clean house, but that's just one thing to think about. So it's an overlooked human trait. Because you can corner yourself to being by yourself by slowly just doing your own thing and not reaching out and talking to your friends or answering their requests or their calls or texts or anything. Eventually you might not ever get any. And then when you send yours out, you may not get a response. That's a fact. And sometimes people mistaken your lack of responses for you not liking them or not caring about them and stuff. But sometimes people just get busy with what they're doing in their lives. Well, anyway, I guess I'm going to get off of here and go find something to do here, and then might go wake up at 3 in the morning. So, y'all have a great week. Ozark Pepper 1 out.